Could I firstly acknowledge, of course, Dr. Darren Siddiqui, the President of the Ethnic Communities Council, the Opposition Leader, Mark McGowan, great to see you here, Mark, the Federal Member from Perth and and my parliamentary colleagues, Janine Freeman and Margaret Quirk. Really great to be here. Ramdas, great to see you here as well, and looking very well after your recent trials and tribulations. Never nice when people have to go into hospital, so good to see you looking so well. International Women's Day, it's almost been like International Women's Week, and there's so many people in the room that I've seen all this week. There are so many wonderful functions that we've been going to, and I think it's really appropriate that we do stretch it out. And when I was going through some notes today, I noticed there's actually quite a few countries around the world now who celebrate International Women's Day. They actually make it a public holiday. And I'm quite surprised, knowing that how much we love our public holidays in Australia, that there hasn't been a push for that somewhere along it. And in some of the countries I noticed that it's a public holiday, but for women only. How cool would that be? So maybe it's something we could do from a non-partisan point of view. Ladies, but something that we could push for here, a ladies only public holiday where all the men could look after us for the day. I think it would be great. But it is here, it's lovely to be here representing Mike Nahan, our Minister. Unfortunately, Mike's not able to be here, but as I always say, his loss is my gain, and I get to come along to these wonderful functions. I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land and pay my respects to elders past and present. And also just to work with all of you here this evening from various ethnic backgrounds. We know that 31% of the women in Western Australia are born in countries other than Australia. And I'm one of them. I was born in England, and my family is Welsh. Excuse me, my husband's an Iranian, and we have a first-generation son, first-generation Australian son. So we're sort of a multicultural family as well. So it's great to sort of look around the room and see all the different ethnicities and the colours. And certainly on Wednesday when we were at the Isha Multicultural Women's March, and Janine was there as well with us. And probably about 100 women, I think, were there marching with these wonderful coloured carousels and fabulous international costumes and things. And it's always a great opportunity to get dressed up. I'm wearing something a bit ethnic. I was very lucky and fortunate to go to the Middle East recently. Jordan bought my outfit from Jordan, so I was quite pleased to be able to wear that. I wore Indian on Wednesday, so I just love the idea of being able to dress up. There's also a serious side to International Women's Day, and it is the fact that we do need to recognise the struggles of women in countries other than Australia who are not as lucky as we are. I know the recent trip I went to, I travelled to Beirut, and I can tell you about a refugee camp there, Behjat, where there's people living in circumstances that we could probably not even comprehend as Australians. I know some of you who've come here as refugees have probably experienced some of the things that I witnessed over there too. So it's really an important time for us to remember those women and the struggles that they do have in those countries. Also, I've visited places like Hebron, Nablus and Ramallah, and just seeing there the struggles that some of the people do have does make us want to stop and think about just how lucky we are that Australia welcomes us all and brings us together as a great multicultural family. One of the things we know we need to do for women is to ensure that they can have economic independence, and I think that's been the theme for this year's International Women's Day, certainly here in Western Australia, is empowering women to gain that economic independence and to get women involved in areas where they think they may not have necessarily been able to be involved. Earlier in the week, our Minister for Women's Interests, Lisa Hardy, launched a toolkit to get women board ready, so that women should be joining boards of government organisations and private companies. And I encourage women here, who there's a website you can go to there from the Office of Women's Interest, and register your interest. And don't for 1 minute think that because you don't have a master's degree in business administration that you're not qualified to sit on a board. We need people to sit on boards in government areas and in the corporate world who just have life's experience. I think one of the anecdotes the Minister said the other day was, if you can sit on a P&C organisation and sort of survive the minefield of shall we serve brown pies or square pies in the school canteen, you're probably qualified to sit on the board of Rio Tinto, quite frankly, because we know some of those areas can be quite difficult for people. So I think it's really important that we do encourage women wherever we can, and especially those of you who may not have been originally educated in Australia, that you take advantage of those programs that are available through all of the wonderful organisations that we do have available. So I won't take up too much more of your time because I can smell the food's going to be wonderful tonight. There's a few other speeches to get through, but just to say thank you all very much for coming. Thank you for the opportunity for being here, and again, happy International Women's Day.